Hi, I'm Steve Fulgoni, and today we're here in my shop to take a look at the HTC100 wood-turning chuck from Hurricane Turning Tools. And what I'm going to show you today is how to install the threaded insert into the back of the chuck. Depending on how you purchase the chuck and where you purchase it, the insert may be installed for you ahead of time, or you may do it. Or, even if you have it installed for yourself, if you want to switch between lathes, you'll need to know how to change the insert. So the threaded insert comes in a package similar to this. This particular one is 1.5 inch by 8 threads per inch for my Powermatic 90 lathe. And looking inside, we have some screws, 3 screws, the insert itself, an Allen wrench, instructions on how to install the insert, and the same instructions are also on the back of the instruction sheet that came with the chuck. So, here I have the 1.5 inch by 8 insert. It is a tapered insert, which means this surface here is tapered, and this taper will fit into a mating hole in the back of the chuck. It's always a good idea to wipe it down just a bit, get any grease or oil off of it. Now what you're going to see are 3 mounting holes in the back of the chuck. And on the back of the insert, you'll see 5 holes. Now, why do we need 5 holes when we only have 3 on the chuck itself? Well, we'll get into that in just a little bit. But what you see here is you'll see 3 holes at 60 degrees apart, I'm sorry, 120 degrees apart, and then 2 are 180 degrees apart. And if you look carefully, these 3 are clearance holes, and these 2 are threaded holes. So, to install the insert into the chuck, we take the 3 clearance holes and we line them up with the 3 threaded holes in the back of the chuck. Then we take our 3 mounting screws, drop them in, and with the supplied Allen key, or you may have one T-handle of your own, tighten the screws. Now, it's important that you go around, do a turn or two, the Allen key, and go around and around until you feel some resistance. Now the chuck is starting to pull in. And what you want to do is just about a quarter turn on each of the screws. And you'll see, let's see if you can get that on the camera here, you'll see that there's a gap here. This gap, right in here, will start to close down. However, the flat surface of the adapter does not need to bottom out on the bottom of the chuck. The concentricity is maintained by the taper, and the strength is maintained by the taper. So we'll do a quarter turn, about a quarter turn, quarter turn. And as it pulls in other words, it's tight here. As I go around, you'll see that they are loose just by about a quarter turn, because with each successive turn of the screw, you're pulling in a little closer. Hand tightening is fine. Don't use a power cordless drill. Don't use an Allen key. That's long to give you a tremendous amount of torque. It is possible to snap the screws. Okay, so that's about it. I can't turn them anymore without really going down too hard. And if I look here, I have about, maybe a 32nd of an inch. But this will run true. Put it on my lathe. Again, for those of you that have Powermatic 90s, I use a ground spacer washer. So there you have it, and you can see, I'll put a white piece of paper up against it. That's all I have at the moment. But you can see, no wobble, no run out, runs perfectly true. Now I'll take the chuck off the lathe. This is not really the right way to do it, but I didn't have it on there very tightly. Let's say you want to remove the insert because you're going to a club meeting and you want to use the chuck for the spindle thread that is at your club. Okay, so that's what these two holes are for. These holes, where I mentioned earlier that these three are clearance holes for the screws to come down and bottom into the chuck, these two are threaded right here, which we will use to remove the insert. Never, ever, ever take a screwdriver and try and pry this off or anything like that. So here's what we'll do. First thing we need to do is use the Allen key and take out the three screws that are holding the insert in. One. Two. And off to my right here, I have one of those nice little magnetic cups that will hold the screws. Okay, so the three screws are out. And now I'm going to use the two threaded holes and put the same two screws back in the two threaded holes. Again, not into the clearance holes that were 120 degrees apart, but into the two threaded holes that are 180 degrees apart. Tighten them down by hand. They will go about that far. So now, we'll go about that far, a little more. No pressure at all. Now these screws are actually touching right here. I don't know if you could see that. Right there. They're touching the bottom of the chuck, and they are going to be used to eject the adapter from the chuck. So just a quarter turn there, back to this one, quarter turn, not even a quarter turn, about an eighth of a turn. This is providing pressure. And that's it. I'll take the screws out. You know these screws are going to go flying into the wood chips in the front of the lathe here, so I'm trying not to do that on camera. If you need extra screws, just send us an email and we will send them out to you. That's that. So if I need to, let's say I'm off to a club, I can take this 4-inch chuck. This 4-inch chuck is great for the Powermatic 90. It's also great for the mini lathes that many of us have at our clubs. So you take out your 1.5-inch insert, put in your 1x8 insert, and off you go. So that's it. We've just installed an insert, showed how to remove it, changed to a different thread. Hurricane HTC100 wood turning chuck. Thanks for watching.